So for me, it was a really fun judging process because I'm in a room with 5 other writers, and writers talk about the nuance of writing, like typographers will talk about the nuance of type, or photographers will talk about every single detail of a shot. And that's what we did. We talked about the writing in great depth. So verbal identity, sometimes called verbal branding, is really how can language do something in branding that nothing else can. So language is in many ways magic. Language is the way that a thought is in my head can fly across the air and land in your head. And language can do that. And it will make sure it lands intact. So language is amazing. And language can create a sense of personality for a brand. Language can create a tone for a brand or a product. Language can create a relationship with a brand. Lots of other branding tools can do that, but language can do some things that other branding tools can't. So for people and agencies and writers that are really good at language, it's great to enter the LIA because it's focusing on what did the language, just the language, do. What we're seeing is clients are demanding better quality of writing, and that quality of writing is consistent across all of the channels. And it really feels that now more than ever, language is highly valued. So we saw some things which make me really glad to be a writer. There are things there, words on the page, that do what language only is magic. It's truly magic that you have these words on the page, that someone's just put words down and then they almost flush off the page and create a world. Whether that's a TV script, whether it's language used in an experiential piece of communication, whether it's language on a poster, just something comes up. And it is like conjuring, alchemy or magic, and then suddenly there's, just through language, there's this sense. And we saw maybe 5 pieces that were really very, very strong. This is an evolving category. It's 2 years old, so it's got to evolve. But it's evolving as the world changes as well. So what we were seeing, really interestingly, were submissions from Chinese agencies who were showing their skills in writing, in creating new brand names for pre-existing Western brands coming into China. And it felt very difficult to judge that work in the same way that we were judging other work. But we would like to say as a jury, I think, that what we saw coming across, this creation of Chinese names for pre-existing Western brands, was really highly skilled writing. And we couldn't recognize it in the same way that we could recognize other things. There was no Grand LIA this year because we saw some very good pieces, and we wanted to say we expect to see some really great pieces. Some pieces that you want to walk out of the room and see someone and say, I've just seen this, and language did that. So we feel like there's great stuff and it's strong, but we want to make sure that there's a very high standard for the writing. The Creative Liaisons program is really interesting. I had the most fantastic bunch of people who were my bosses at different agencies in London, and I got exactly 0 amount of tuition in writing. Really, the tuition in writing was by example. You saw great writers writing and you wanted to be as good as them. But no one ever sat down and said, look, if you want to construct something like this, if you want to be a writer, think about it that way. And so the people that were on the panel with me today were doing something for the younger people in the audience that I'd never had done for me, and I thought that was great. They were saying, look, if you want to write, think about this. If you're creating names, think about that. When it comes to tone of voice, this is what a great tone of voice can do, and this is how you can do it. If you're stuck, do this. If you want to get writing early in the morning, try and think about that. So I don't know that anyone's really getting that tuition anywhere else. There is one piece of advice for writers which stands out above all others, and that is if you want to know whether your writing, if you want to know whether your writing is any good, say it out loud. Because you'll hear immediately if it's any good, or you'll hear if it's crap.